Al Venhuizen is at Waupun CRC. You are not an elder now, but I imagine you have been in the past. Is that true, Al?
Yes,
Yeah.
I have.
Elder and deacon, I'd guess.
Yep.
There we go. Uh, Al is another one of the License to Exhort guys we've been going through, and one of three at First CRC in Waupun, which is a huge blessing. I just met Al in person a few days ago, and now we're hopping on a Zoom call. So I'll let you introduce yourself, Al, and I'm sure I'll learn something too here.
Okay. Yeah, my name is Al Venhuizen. I'm married to my wife Renee, who is a teacher at Central Wisconsin Christian School, and we have 4 children, all married. 3 live in this area. 1 lives in Nebraska. We also are blessed with 9 grandkids so far. And I am a former dairy farmer. We quit that a number of years ago. Now cash crop and some steers. And ever since I quit with the dairying, I've been involved in working at a local accounting firm doing tax preparation work during the winter months. So that's basically that part of my life. I have been licensed to exhort since 2008. I completed the leadership development network classes. I went through that. I started that once we sold the cows. I had time for it then, and I kind of was interested. I had been, or have been, leading Bible studies and teaching catechism and things like that for many years. And I just wanted to go a little further and learn a little more. That was also about the time that I was first an elder. And it never was the plan to do pulpit supply or anything like that. I just wanted to be a better teacher, better Bible teacher, better Bible study leader, that kind of thing. But one of the things that we were encouraged to do in the summer months when we were not having the class was to explore different things you hadn't done before in the life of the church. And that was one thing. Well, okay, talk to your council, see if they'd be willing to let you do it. And I tried it, and I was invited to do it again. And it just kind of kept going from there. And then when the class was completed, it was like, well, you graduated from the LDN class. I just kind of wanted some affirmation of what I had done.
Sure.
And so that's why I went to classes. Just that was basically my affirmation. Appeared before classes and was examined and that kind of thing. So that's how I came to be doing this kind of thing.
Al, was Dave Kotzma teaching the LDN program at that time?
Dave Kotzma taught the second half of it. The first half I had Rob Sizemore yet.
Oh, okay, sure. Calvin
first year and a half Rob taught, and the second year and a half was Dave.
Cool. We end up talking about the LDN program like every other video, it seems. But would you recommend it? I mean, you had a positive experience?
I did. I had a very positive experience with it. I learned a lot, especially when we were going through the entire Bible, reading that. It did push me a little bit to read more books. I hadn't had that time being a dairyman at the time. I just didn't have time to read books, but I was encouraged to read more and learn things that way. But also just, even though I had led Bible studies and taught catechism, that kind of stuff, just to be able to stand in front of other people and talk about God's word was a real challenge to me, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah. So for people who don't know, the LDN program is one Sunday afternoon a month. We meet for what, like 3 hours? Like, it's been a while now already.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's a 3-year program. You're off in the summers. You're asked to read about a book a month, which is a little bit heavy, but like you said, if you time it, in the time of life correctly, it can be pretty manageable. And so one year we read through the entire Bible. One year was church history, and I think one year was like pastoral tools
Right.
kind of
Right.
thing, and no tests or exams, or just reading and discussion. And some
There was, at least when I did it, after we read the through the entire Bible, then we were asked kind of to write like a term paper.
well,
Well,
they did away with. They either did away with
Rob
that,
had
or
us do
okay.
that.
Another
And,
reason why I'm
that-
thankful for Dave Kotzma. One of many reasons.
So that was the challenge too, but it really forced you
Sure,
to
sure.
dig deep into different
And
things.
people. I mean, the nature of this little podcast thing, we talk to people who have used it and gone on to preach in their church or in other churches. But plenty of people have taken it just simple for discipleship. I want to learn more. I want to know something, and it's a great way to feel almost like a seminary course without the homework. But you're getting that kind of reading, though. I mean, those kinds of texts,
Right.
and so I really, really recommend it. And there's a little cost, but
Right.
I'm sure if you asked your counsel, they'd be willing to
Yeah.
help anybody out with that. So I always recommend that. But anyways, Al, I'm going to ask the follow-up, which is, what are you working on lately? And since we just met a few days ago, I know that you're real involved in prison ministry in the Waupun area. You mind talking a little bit about what you do in the prisons there?
All right. Well, I have been involved in prison ministry on and off for 40 years.
Oh, wow.
It started locally with the chaplain. The chaplain who was at the Fox Lake Correctional years ago was a member of the RCA Church in Alto.
Sure.
And he really started a volunteer program, bringing volunteers in, and had quite a program going, and I got involved through that. He actually was having volunteers come in 2 nights a week, and but then when he retired, they tried to keep it going, and different chaplains had different ideas of what to do, but also I kind of backed out a little bit when our kids were young and just busy with that, and but I've also been involved I mentored a fellow for a while, about 2.5 years. I met with him on a regular basis, but since that time, I've been more involved at the Burke Center in Waupun, which is a minimum place. A lot of the guys there are nearing the end of their sentence, and they are kind of working out in the community. A lot of them work on the prison farm, but they also have work release privileges.
Sure.
But I go in basically for that. I'm in once a month, maybe more, depending upon if someone cancels out. I live close enough that if somebody, and I'm part of an organization. It's called Brothers Bob's Outreach. They are the organization that sets up all of these studies and worship services at the various prisons. They work in connection with the prison system. They secure the volunteers. They help us to fill out the paperwork and all that kind of thing. Over the years, things have gotten a lot more difficult as far as getting in. I mean, and understandably so, especially since 9/11. That's when things really tightened up. And but working through this organization, but they're out of headquartered in Milwaukee or Brookfield, and but I live close enough to the prisons here that if somebody cancels out, well, then they give me a holler and can you fill it in? So I'm there at least once a month, and then some of the other institutions will have weekly services as well. Burke Center is a Bible study type thing, and it's on a Sunday evening. Worship service.
That's what you're doing there. You're leading Bible study at the Burke Center when you're
yes,
there. Got it.
A Bible study there, and in depth study.
Cool.
The guys kind of look forward to that,
Cool.
really getting into things like that. But there's also worship services. I've done a few of those at various institutions as well. Maybe not as often, but it works out. It's pretty close to twice a month that I'm doing something at the prisons. The prison systems have changed too, as far as allowing volunteers in. Due to staffing shortages, a lot of the religious programming is no longer on Sundays. They'll have to have it during the week because of staffing issues, and that's not easy for me to do during the week.
Right.
So Sundays are the days that I can make things happen for me. So I try to make myself available for those institutions that do have Sunday programs yet. So, But go ahead.
What are some of the, great successes of that kind of work that you've gotten to experience?
Well, I get to meet a lot of guys, a lot of people, and at least at the Burke Center, because these guys are nearing the end of their sentence, they're not there usually all that long, so you don't get to know them, for a long period of time. But you do get to know them, and especially in a Bible study type setting, rather than a worship service, you get to converse with them, talk with them, hear their side of life.
Yeah.
And which, on a personal note, that's what I find, one of the most exciting things about it is that, I've grown up in this, Dutch community all my life, where, pretty much everybody is very similar to me,
Sure.
similar background,
Sure.
all that stuff. To meet with men who are Christians but come from a different background, to hear and to see Jesus Christ and his work through their eyes, and how with their background, that's just amazing to me. It's just exciting to me. It opens up a whole new world. And then and I've had times where I just come and say, hey guys, I've got no story to tell you, not like you have, and they'll say, but what a story you have for us. To be able to grow up in the church, to have a Christian family, and one that was always there for you, and now you have kids and you have grandkids, and you teach them. Man, I don't have that.
Yeah.
I wish I had that.
Yeah.
You really do have something.
Yeah.
And they help me to realize that too.
Sure.
It's enjoyable. It's there. Like I say, a Bible study. I try to make it. We dig in. We go through a book of the Bible. Generally, is how we do it, and we dig into it. And these guys they're so eager to learn. At least that's been my experience. I usually have at the Burke Center anywhere from 15 to 20 guys will come out on a Sunday night, and we will have. We are blessed right now. One of the men is a former praise and worship leader. Neat. In his church, and he has his guitar.
Cool.
And he was given permission to print song sheets, and we sing. And these guys love to sing.
Cool.
And it's just a wonderful way to open up a service or a time of Bible study. We're together for roughly I'd say about an hour and a half. And if we spend a half hour singing, it just sets the tone for the evening so wonderfully. We've done it before. This guy he was part of the group. We did it a cappella. It's tough. I'm not a music person, but we did it, and the guys loved it because they could sing. They just want to do that, and it's just neat.
I'm struck by your story. It reminds me of Timothy and Paul's relationship, where you got Paul, who's just got this wild testimony, on the road to murder Christians, and knocked off his horse, and hears the voice of God. And for people like you and me, it's kind of like, I kind of wish sometimes I would have this cool testimony to share. But we're kind of more like Timothy, who his mother had faith and his grandmother had faith, and he was raised in the scriptures, it says. And we know how much Paul meant to Timothy, but I wonder how much Timothy meant to Paul. Like the guys talking to you about, man, we just appreciate what you know and the background you have, and it inspires us to teach our kids and our loved ones. And I'm just wondering if we take that for granted.
And I always go back to one fella told me, this was the guy that I actually mentored for a couple of years. And he said to me, he says, don't ever think that you don't have a story to tell. He says, why do you think I ask you so many questions about your family? He says, because I didn't have that. And he says, when you talk about you have devotions with your wife, he says, I never did that. He says, when you talk about teaching your kids how to pray, I didn't do that.
Wow.
He says, what a privilege you had. He says, now I'm here and the kids are growing and I can't get to them, and my wife left me and all this kind of thing, Just suddenly sit back and say, my life has really been blessed. And I just take it for granted.
Yeah. Well, Al, how can we be praying for you or for the prison ministry or Waupun CRC? Any prayer requests that you'd like to share with us?
Well, I was thinking about that after I had watched some of these other casts, and I would like to see prayers for the Christians who are in prison, for those for the church that is behind bars, because it's there and it is. It's active. It is growing. Prayers for those who are serve as chaplains. They have a unique responsibility and very difficult at times, but they need our prayers too. And I think you're familiar with the Wisconsin inmate education program going on at the state prison.
Yeah.
Prayers for that too. Training these men and giving them an education and a degree in biblical studies and ministry. And actually, and this is something that if you talk about what I'm involved in or doing, and maybe you're aware of this, but that program, they try to bring in local pastors once a month to give like a chapel service, a time of an encouragement and stuff from the outside, And I know the instructors of this program, and they've invited me to give a message. And I did it once before the pandemic, and now I'm looking at doing it again in September. And I'm working on trying to develop an encouraging message for these guys, and what to think about. Think about them as being leaders, and they got to lead those that wherever they're going to be, wherever they're going to be placed. Yeah, they're going to be leaders, and I'm looking at a passage out of Nehemiah, who was called by God to be a leader of the people, and some of the things from there. Those are the kinds of things that, I really see a need to pray for these types of ministry. These guys are going to get back out again, and they struggle when they get back out. They need the support of their community, of their families, and sometimes they don't have it, you know?
Yeah. Well, we'll be in prayer for that education program and for these men and women who are reintroduced to their communities, and we thank you, Al. We'll be praying for you and your heart for that community. Appreciate your time today.